through capacity building, creates sustainable jobs, supports local enterprise, opens services around production, and gives young people a stake in the future of mining. That is why mining communities must no longer be treated as land donors. They are the custodians of the resource. And that's why I submit very forcefully this afternoon that mining communities must be treated as development partners and economic shareholders. If we accept that truth, distinguished guests, then we must confront a hard question, which is, after more than a century of mining, why are too many Ghanaians still spectators in the ownership and value of mines? Ghana has mined gold commercially for more than a century. Yet for most of this long history, Ghanaians have not been the real owners of the mines. The large-scale mining sector has been largely foreign-led, and too much of the value has leaked out of the country through ownership structures, financing arrangements, imported inputs, offshore services, limited beneficiation, and weak local industrial linkages. That is why Obuasi can produce gold for generations and still not compared to Johannesburg in industrial depth, urban development, economic opportunities, and what have you. This is not because Obuasi lacks resources. The state of development in Obuasi points to a truism that extraction without intentional policy does not automatically produce transformation. Mines do not build nations by accident. Nations build value through deliberate ownership, strategic partnerships, infrastructure linkages, and disciplined policy management. If we want a new story, we must own more, refine more, process more, fabricate more, and retain more. It's as simple as that. Communities must be active participants in the value chain, from exploration services and production support to logistics, fabrication, environmental services, refining, jewelry, and downstream enterprise. When these roles are localized, a mine becomes more than a pit or a shaft. It becomes a training ground, a market, an industrial anchor, and a platform for youth enterprise. GoldBod, gold, needs chairman, is not a marginal commodity in Ghana's economy. It is currently our most dominant export commodity. The latest 2024-2025 merchandise trade data show total exports of $32 billion for the year 2025, with gold earning about $20 billion and accounting for roughly 63% of export earnings. Undoubtedly, gold has helped drive record trade surpluses, strengthened national reserves, supported currency appreciation, and anchored the current economic stability we are witnessing. The policy consequence is clear. Gold is both a strategic asset and a moral responsibility. It must stabilize the economy, but it must also transform the communities from which it comes. This downstream activity happens outside the communities and outside Ghana. That must change, and the John Mahama government and the GoldBod remain poised to rewrite the story. Government must therefore pursue gold reforms that optimize returns from gold and other natural resources, expand responsible exploration, support indigenous ownership, formalize artisanal and small-scale mining, win the fight against illegal mining, accelerate local refining and local value addition, strengthen traceability, and convert mining revenues into visible development in host communities. We must also make production services around mining real opportunities for host communities. And by this, I'm talking about catering, transport, security, reclamation, maintenance, and environmental monitoring, agricultural supply, housing, and local policy. A young person in Tapa, Nicha, Obuase, Christian, Bibiani or should see mining not as a distant concession, but as a chain of opportunities, a contract to supply, a workshop to run, a skill to learn, a business to build, and a future to claim. To organize these reforms, I propose a simple but urgent model, and I call it IP. And the I stands for involve, the P stands for protect, and the E stands for expand. The youth factor in all this, ladies and gentlemen, is not a side issue. It is the urgency of this dialogue. The IPE model must be judged by whether it connects mineral wealth to the future of our youth. A country that fails to do that is sitting on both wealth and unhinged risk. So distinguished guys, by involve, I mean this. Number one, mining communities must become consent providers, not afterthoughts, because Accra cannot determine their fate without them. Number two, mining communities must be recognized not as land donors, but as I said, economic shareholders in the wealth they host. Number three, mining communities must move from consultation to strategic partnerships. They must have a meaningful voice in licensing, clearer access to mining-related opportunities, and deliberate youth pathways into capacity building, mining services, and alternative livelihoods. Local royalty retention must be higher and more decentralized, so development funds reach the people directly. Definite corporate social responsibility contracts must move mining areas from discretionary projects to predictable transformation, helping communities and citizens to see how mineral wealth translates into shared national development. More importantly, ladies and gentlemen, we must promote more indigenous ownership of mines. We must support Ghanaian capital to participate in meaningful exploration, mine development, mine services, and value addition. You can't get more from mining if you don't own the mines. We must expand geological work, open new fields responsibly, and ensure that as production grows, local value also grows. Production without ownership, ladies and gentlemen, is limited. Production without value is leakage. Production without community transformation is a broken social contract. Ladies and gentlemen, I move to the P